Myofascial release is a very important aspect of muscle recovery. I have a few pieces of equipment that are great tools for massaging your muscles. I got the Hypervolt, this muscle roller, a lacrosse ball, and most importantly, the foam roller. If you're in the gym lifting weights, it's very important that you have a foam roller. This is an essential myofascial release tool that anybody who's doing resistance training should be using in between workouts. Let's start with the lower body. I'll be rolling the glutes to begin with. I just put one arm on the ground, come onto my side, and I'll roll right over my butt cheek. I'll go back and forth for about 30 seconds, and then I'll switch sides. I do myofascial release on 2 occasions. On rest day, when I'm not working out, and immediately before I work out. So when you're foam rolling a tight muscle, expect it to hurt a little bit, or even quite a bit. It's not supposed to be a pleasant feeling, like it actually might hurt quite a bit, but ultimately you should trust your instinct. If something hurts way too much, don't do it, but this isn't supposed to feel like a wonderful thing on your muscles. It might hurt a little bit. Now we're gonna do the quadricep muscles. We're gonna go all the way from knee up to the hip. It's very important that you get the hip flexor region, but something that you should know if you are someone with male genitalia is that you need to be careful of not rolling over any of that because you can damage yourself. So get as close as you can to that region without actually going over it. So now we're going to roll out the hip flexors, or the psoas. It is a muscle that goes up in here and it attaches to your lower back. We're going to dig deep into our lower abdominal region to get that. And we're going to do that by using the edge of the foam roller to kind of dig in there. Now we're going to use the foam roller on the TFL. It is a muscle right on the front and lateral side of your hip at about 45 degrees. It is only about 4 inches. It goes from the top of your hip bone to right about here. It attaches to a tendon along the side of your leg, which we're not going to foam roll because it is not a muscular structure. We're going to strictly foam roll up here to release the tension on the IT band and the TFL. So I go and I get the foam roller right on the TFL, and I like to roll side to side. Like I said, rolling over certain tight muscles can be quite painful. For me, the TFL is very tight, so I almost cringe when I roll over it because it's a muscle that really needs to be released. Before I work out at the gym doing resistance training, or even maybe before I run or go on a bike ride, I really like to do foam rolling because it warms up the muscle, it helps you regain mobility without losing the tension on the muscle, which that is really good before you do resistance training, because if you do a static stretch, you're going to feel pretty weak because you lose the muscle tension. But if you do foam rolling, you'll gain the mobility without losing the muscle tension. Now we're moving on to the upper body. I'm going to show you how to foam roll your back. The emphasis of back foam rolling should be on the upper 2/3 of your back. You're going to feel lots of cracks in your spine, which is okay. It's just releasing a bit of tension in there. I'll go all the way up to my neck, to get the top of the trap muscles. It's also very important to keep your core braced while doing this movement particularly. You should have your core braced on any of these foam rolling movements, but especially on your back. You want to be a bit more cautious when rolling your lower back because the vertebrae in the lumbar spine don't have any ribs, so they're a little bit less stable and it's a bit more prone to injury. What I do is I keep my core braced and I take some of the weight off of my arms when I'm going over the lower back. You can turn to the side a little bit. This targets the Quadratus Lumborum muscle, which can get really tight when you've been sitting in a chair for extended periods of time. But once again, it's important to keep your arm on the ground and not put excessive amounts of weight on this region. So using the foam roller is an active process. It will feel like a workout. I'm sweating a little bit right now, like you can probably see I got some armpit sweat going. So I'm really working, like I'm burning calories doing this. It's not really supposed to be a relaxing thing. It's an active recovery workout. So now we're gonna foam roll the pecs. And if you're somebody with breasts, this is an area that you have to watch out for because you don't wanna roll over the actual breast tissue. However, releasing the pec muscles can be very good for your shoulders. It's great for shoulder mobility and preventing shoulder impingement. So you can really easily find the pec muscle with the lacrosse ball up against the wall, and you can easily avoid pressing into anything that you don't want to dig into. So I even recommend foam rolling the armpit region because you can foam roll your pec, your lat, and your serratus anterior, as well as some of the rotator cuff muscles. I do forewarn you, this is one of the more painful foam rolling exercises because these muscles can all get very tight. This doesn't feel good. So if you're naturally pretty flexible and mobile, doing the foam roller is probably going to be a pretty easy process. It might be pretty relaxing. But if you have very tight muscles, like you've been weightlifting a lot, you don't stretch very often, the foam roller is going to be kind of painful, but that means you need to do more foam rolling and release those tight muscles. Now I'm going to show you how to use a lacrosse ball, or you can also use a baseball or any other sort of round massage ball. And I'm going to show you how to use this to release some tight muscles. Also a really good tool to use on your back and shoulder blades. You can put it up against the wall and find the spot that's feeling tight, and you can roll into it. I do this on the wall because if you go and lay on the ground with the lacrosse ball, it's a lot of force on one single point and it's not gonna feel very good. If you can handle that kind of pain, more power to you, but I think the wall does just fine. There are a lot of different tools that you can find for self-myofascial release. I don't know what to call this thing, but it's just another type of muscle roller. It's very portable. You can bring it with you in a backpack on the go. And there's all kinds of different equipment that is portable and very similar to this that you can bring with you to release your muscles. Like if you're traveling, if you've been on a plane all day, things like this are great to bring with you. The Hypervolt is a great myofascial release tool. However, it can be quite costly. The foam roller is much more affordable and it can be just as effective. The benefit to using a Hypervolt is that you can use it passively. I can sit down and relax and use the Hypervolt, and I'm not using up any of my own energy. This is a much easier method than foam rolling in my opinion. However, the Hypervolt is not a very useful tool if you're not already using the foam roller. It is a great supplement to your myofascial release program, but if you're not already using your foam roller, this device isn't going to be very useful and it wouldn't be a good purchase for you. I highly recommend using the foam roller, and if you want to take it to the next level, a massage gun can be a good idea. Using the foam roller is really good to do before you stretch. I recommend doing some sort of myofascial release before you stretch a certain muscle because it warms it up, it loosens it up a little bit already, and it gives you an understanding of what muscles are tight and which ones you need to stretch. So as a personal trainer, I had a client who he wasn't very mobile, and one day he came in and he said he was sick and didn't feel like doing a very intense workout. So I brought him to the foam rolling station and I taught him how to use the foam roller. He had never used one in his life. It was a very painful experience for him, but next time we got him on the barbell squat and his depth improved immensely. He went from only being able to get down about this far into a squat, then he was able to get down at least this far, almost down to parallel after one foam rolling session. He did an hour of foam rolling and it changed his mobility entirely. So I highly recommend using foam rolling as a way of increasing your mobility while you're trying to gain strength.